All right, all right, all right. Good morning, Keller Williams. All right, how are we doing? So, I want to thank the very special guest that I have today, coming out of, well, believe it or not, they're out of Minnesota, but today they're broadcasting from Ohio.
Yes, sir.
All right, we got our national travelers here. Okay, so first and foremost, you guys, I want to introduce you to my good friends who share the same last name. My brother from another mother, Mr. Joshua Baker, and his lovely wife, Anna Baker.
Hey.
Woo.
Or is it my sister? Anyways, I can't say it's my brother or sister because they're married, not to be weird. So, Josh, I'm just gonna go with you, my man. No, I'm just kidding, man.
Hey, that's all right.
So,
I love.
so thank you guys so very, very much for taking time out of your busy schedule and your traveling plans to jump on this call with me today and to just share your story on what you guys do, who you guys are, and what makes you guys so successful, and just what you guys are doing in today's market to overcome the hurdles and the challenges that we're all seeing on a nationwide level. So why don't we go ahead and start off with, why don't you introduce yourselves and tell us, just tell the crowd who you are.
Sure, yeah. So I'm Anna Baker. I come from a teaching background. I was an educator for a while and then got into real estate when we actually moved states and they wouldn't take my teaching license. Josh was studying for real estate and I was like, well, I might as well hop on that bandwagon and start too. And it's given me a good foundation because I do feel like in real estate, a huge part of our job is educating our clients and making sure that they're informed. So that's given me a really good background and yeah.
Yeah. Again, I'm Josh Baker, and I come from a military background. Believe it or not, I've family that's served forever. It feels like, and real estate has been in my family. My dad doesn't like when I say it, but it's 3 generations. He technically got my grandfather started, so I think he considers it two. But he's owned his own brokerage out there in California for over 45 years.
Wow.
And it just made sense. Like, I went to school for business management and sports, right? And I played basketball, and I've always had a background in some sort of like selling or leasing. And so it just made sense that I was going to jump into this kind of a career, right? And follow the footsteps of my father and just, kind of went from there, and just have, been doing this now for just under a decade.
Yeah, doing something social. That's what suits me.
And Anna, I like what you said. I mean, I think Gary Keller said about us, like, we're more than just realtors, we're educators, we're therapists, right? Or, people to lean on. So when it comes down to, your businesses and the fact that you guys have been doing this for just about a decade now, right? What do you think has been the key for you guys to be so successful? Like, what is that one thing that you had to do that change? Because obviously, people on this call, there's some, experienced agents, some new agents, and we're all new at one point. So when it comes down to, what makes you guys you, right? What was that foundation that was like, this is it, this works, and we're gonna run with this?
I think I think Josh and I both can agree that the way that we lead our business is something that comes just natural to us. Is just I guess being natural to people and being genuine and having good integrity and not chasing, not bothering, not being salesy, but just creating relationships has really what has created our foundation. And it took a while. It took a couple of years to really lay that foundation of being top of mind, but also just kind of being, the realtors next door, the people that you go to when you need something. And I think that that's kind of where our business has taken us, is just like, oh, those, yeah, we like them, they're cool, let's go with them, and just making friends in our community, being trusted. So
I love that.
Honestly, yeah, kind of as cliche as it might be, we're very different, but we are on the same field when it comes to like getting clients to kind of move forward, or even just drumming business up. It's very, oh man, it's crazy to think, like, she does one way, I do it a totally different way, but it all comes together the way it's supposed to for our clients.
The
So
yin and yang, right? That's
yeah.
really
yes, sir.
cool. Having that harmonious relationship. That's really cool. So when it comes to like lead generation, that's a really big key in getting clients. What's the lead gen tactic that you guys use the most? Is it referrals? Is it repeat clients? Is it marketing? Is it cold calling, door knocking? What do you guys do that you find to be so successful out there in that market?
Yeah, well, I mean, as Josh said, we're very different people, and what he's comfortable with, I am not comfortable with.
Okay.
So I've been in Minnesota my whole life. I have really deep connections there. And so I think for me, what I'm comfortable with is just staying connected to my people. And I don't sell on social media, but just keeping my social media informed that like, hey, this is what I do. And I let business come to me. Josh is a little bit more out there where he goes and gets it.
I'm really an extrovert. So for me, it's one of those, again, I'm sorry for the cliche again. I've never met a stranger, right? If you're standing next to me at Target and I think you're kind of confused about what you want to choose or what I want to choose, I'm going to be like, what do you think? Right. And I don't know you from anything, but
Yeah.
I can have a conversation is my point. And I think that's largely what it is can you be personable without being pushy?
Mhm.
But so I do a lot of different types of sports. I mean, like I said, I play college ball and I don't know, I just sports to me just brings a whole different feel and level of comfortability. So, I use that as kind of like my marketing or my what's the word I'm looking for?
Lead generation.
Lead generation.
Yeah,
Thank you.
he's in a bunch of leagues throughout the
So
week, and
I'm
he
marketing and sponsoring
yeah.
like softball teams or leagues. I play in a premier traveling
Mhm.
league, where we've got teams that have, won world championships. And, I'll do hockey leagues and just really putting my business out there. And then kind of, we also have a niche in real estate, which everybody knows you got to have a niche in real estate to kind of go in tandem with what you're doing. So we're the elder services team as well, where we canvas local businesses. So
Yeah, we have a specialty where we do have a program for seniors and the elderly or their families, and we assist in helping them transition out of their homes, and if they're going to go that direction, then we have all these extra services that we kind of pile into our plan for them to give them extra support throughout that transition. So Josh does go out and network in those businesses a lot too, which
How
is,
fun.
again, something that I'm less comfortable with, but
Yeah.
he's good at it.
That's really cool. When it comes down to, this industry, you guys seem to just have that passion, to just want to be there for people. And that makes the work not work. It just makes it fun. It makes it like, part of your life. But occasionally, we do have hurdles in this industry, right? So,
Yeah.
what's some of the biggest hurdles that you guys have seen out there? And what are some of the solutions to those hurdles that you've done to overcome them?
Man, I mean, the list of hurdles is endless and in so many different
Yeah,
scenarios. I think it's just like, at least for us, it's like you got to take it day by day. And I think you just got to educate and communicate with your clients and let them know that, like, hey, we're doing everything in this really difficult situation or this hurdle that came up in your transaction. But here's start to finish everything that's going on. Here are the different options of how to overcome it, and just really being their ally versus being the person who's laying a problem in front of them. And then when they know that you're going to be there to support them, they can trust you. It's kind of like even when things go south, they know you're on their team, and that's a good agent, because ultimately we can't control everything that happens in a transaction. So
exactly. Exactly.
yeah,
And see, well, you're absolutely right. And we have our hurdles out here, as well. But when it comes down to, the way that you guys work with your clients, aside from, I love the way that you just presented that, because you do it in such a way where it's like, hey, we're already working on putting out the fire. If the fire hasn't already been put out at this point, but we just want to go ahead and inform you. When it comes to your clients, how often do you communicate with them, and what's the expectation that you guys set with your clients?
I think it's really more is more, you've got to be able to have that phone call or that Zoom call or that one-on-one. And because we work in many different facets, it's as much as is needed, right? So if there's an update or something's going on, I mean, it's up to you as the agent to understand what kind of a market you're in as well, right? Because a lot of times they're going to have anxieties or they're going to have questions or, concerns. whether they're first time home buyers or they're downsizing, and you know, you just got to tackle those questions as they come up.
I think a big part of it too that helps with our business is that whether it's a seller or buyer, the first meeting we have with them is going over a guide, which is like an information packet that we've produced with pictures and steps, and it has all the information they need and the timeline of events of a transaction, so they kind of know what to expect, what the steps are, and it's something that we refer to throughout the transaction, something that they can go back to help them again feel informed and feel in control of what's going on. So that piece of the communication is really big too. Just again, being an educator, because we go through this super often, but even somebody who has bought or sold a house, you know, it's been years. And so how has it changed? What to expect?
And it's not sorry, and it's not always just communication between us and the client, right? It's communication between us and their lender, or us and a family member, or us and, you know, anybody that might have something to do with the transaction. So
Yeah. I love that. You know, and when it comes to negotiations, you know, I mean, you guys probably go through a lot just as much as we do out here, right? How do you handle the negotiations to, you know, make sure that you guys, you know, your clients are top priority on that aspect?
Yeah, you know, again, I feel like it's the same answer over and over again, but it kind of is. It's communication. It's
Same thing.
because
Yeah.
again, we don't control what happens, and both sides got to agree. So it's like if a negotiation comes up, truth be told, we want it to be a win-win for both sides, but really it is laying out to our client and saying, hey, we're gonna do our best to come up with as many creative solutions as possible, and then laying those out. The client's in the driver's seat, giving them options. How would you like to move forward? Because I know you see on TV, all these like real estate TV shows, the agent's like, oh, well, it's this or nothing. And then the other agent counters and they're like, no, we're not going to take that. And maybe they've gotten direction from the client before, but I think there is this illusion that like we get to go like be a bulldog, when in fact it's like you know, it's like we're representing their choices. So
Yeah. Well, here's a hurdle that we have out here. When it comes to like listings, right? When it comes to determining the price, obviously you guys are going to have some clients out there that think their house is maybe worth more than it should be, or, you know, they want a certain price. You know, what do you guys do in that aspect? Because, you know, sometimes the client wants to dictate, you know, what the price is going for on the market, you know. So how do you, I mean, obviously as an educator, you know, what's your best practice to educating them to finding the best price and helping it sold, you know, sell as quickly as possible? Because that's a big
yeah,
issue.
I we straight up pull up the computer and in Minnesota in our MLS it's called InfoSparks. We pull up the data. We're like, here's days on market for homes like yours. Here's what your neighbor sold for, and let's adjust those based on the comps. And here's one data point. Here's another data point. Hey, let's look at price per square foot of your area. There's another data point. Where are these numbers? Like, where are we sitting with this? Have you done updates? And we really, it's like a workshop with the seller to say, okay, so based on all this information, as professionals, this kind of where we think you should be. Where do you think you should be? And if they want to price it too high, we'll walk through that with them. Like, okay, you priced it too high. How about after 10 days or 10 showings? If we don't have offers, we drop it by 10 grand. We make a plan, but ultimately they're in control. They're in the driver's seat. And if it doesn't sell, then they know it was their choice.
And I think one other key point to that too is also knowing your construction costs in the area, right? So if you have a construction company that's coming in building new homes, you know, a builder, and you know, if you can get those pricing, if you can get that pricing on things, that's very helpful in figuring out depreciation, right? Because you got to figure all those costs in of what it would cost to build new. I had a client, for example, over a year ago, and they weren't sure if they could list their home at a certain price. And after kind of going through the home with them and figuring out what it was like with new construction in the area, we listed above what they thought they could list for. And then we actually got, you know, an over asking price offer, and closed on that. you know? So
Awesome.
they were very appreciative of the fact that like, he was like, man, the gentleman in this case had another agent that he'd used in the past, but didn't feel comfortable going back to the agent for whatever reason that might have been, but told me he really appreciated the fact that I took the time to go through that breakdown with him and just understood that process that much more. And he was like, I wasn't expecting you to do that. I was just expecting you to come in and give me a price on my home. And that's just not how we do things.
I love that. I mean, that's going above and beyond and setting a standard and then going above and beyond for the clients. That really makes you guys, like you said, different, and it separates you. I think that's pretty cool. When it comes down to, the most important thing that I feel is part of anyone's business is time management. You guys are working together and not everyone has the opportunity to have two people working together. I mean, some people have teams, where they have like 5, 10 people, and I take it it's just you two. But how do you guys, work out your time management schedule? How do you guys find the time to where either one person's doing this, you guys are both doing it together, or what what are your successes in that? Like, what do you do?
I mean, I'll just say this right away. That's why it's great having the partner that I have. Anna is fantastic. She handles our admin work. She's an admin guru, if you will. She's set up processes for us that it's kind of one of those things where it would be impossible to fail, right? If you're just following the next steps on everything that she's created for our business, it's very I would say simple. I don't know if it was simple to create from her side of things, but we lean on each other a lot. Like if I'm out doing showings and all of a sudden we know we're in a hot market and my client's like, I gotta write a deal and I gotta write it now. I can be out 45 minutes and hey Anna, can you get this deal going? Can you get everything written up? And if it's a client that wants to be on a Zoom call and can do it over a Zoom call versus an in-person meeting, that's where it's super beneficial because we're saving time, right? Because everybody knows there's value in being the first offer in a lot of cases. That's not always the case. Maybe the seller can wait it out, but in that instance or that example, it's very beneficial to have somebody, thinking of the same mind and knowing what our clients expect. It's just, you can't ask for anything better.
It is, and yeah, to speak to like our processes, we do kind of have like, a stepping stone that we like to follow just to make sure that everybody's getting what they need. Time management, I'll say, I think that's hard for us. And I think like for a lot of realtors, you're your own boss. There's a lot of freedom there. And we have 3 little kids. We're managing a house, we're managing an investment property, and it's hard. I'll say it's really hard to like stick to what you're gonna do, especially with the way that, I explained we lead generate. It's not like we're like, oh, we're gonna make cold calls from this hour to that hour. Because the lead generation that we do is more, like, oh, we're gonna hop over to this sports league or I'll post on social media. But I definitely think it's something that we could get better at.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think
it's
everybody
worked so far, so I think we're kind of like,
we're just so non-traditional or old school, if you will, that
Yeah.
we're not pushy.
Mhm.
We're kind of, we want to build that relational trust to where they can just come to us. And sometimes that might affect like our time management, I suppose, but
Yeah.
for the most part.
But it's also been really nice, just to be open. We have they just turned 4-year-old twins who have just kind of like been at our house. So to be able to be flexible, and start work at 10 p.m. when grandpa comes over to watch them, or
10 a.m.
10 a.m. or
I was
grandma
gonna
comes
say, wow.
up,
That's
or-
that
All
time
nighters.
management right there.
so it's really nice to be flexible and to be able, it's such a blessing to be able to spend time at home with our kids while they're little, and not be, punching the clock from,
All
8
the
to
time.
8,
Yeah.
and we know that like we're going to be working nights and weekends, so we're like, we can be a little bit more flexible during the day. And
And it,
we
it,
say once all the kids get into school, maybe we'll start a more regimented
I think
schedule, but
I think the other piece of that too is we also have a transaction coordinator. And
that's
thank
helpful.
goodness for Shannon, because he handles all of our paperwork and he can get everything submitted in the time that it needs to be submitted. He's very knowledgeable about what he does and how, certain things need to be handed off and taken care of. So that frees us up for more lead gen, right? And we can get out and get on showings or do the other things that, realtors should be doing.
Exactly. I mean, it's part of the MREA book anyways. I mean, the first person you're supposed to hire is, a TC and even an assistant, So the fact that you're proving that that actually works because you're living through it and it's providing you the type of leverage so that you can have that happy work-life balance to the best of your ability. Because you guys are, pretty good producers out there. I mean, you guys are selling top volume, right? And yet you guys get to spend time in Ohio, right? I mean,
Yeah.
to find the time to take time away from the business and know that, I mean, business hasn't stopped, even though you're not Ohio. Is that correct? I mean, it still
Sure.
keeps going, right? So how
Absolutely.
you manage that, because when it comes to time management, some people, they're trying to transition to do this full time or, to try and find that balance just within their full time regimen here in California alone. But to be able to travel and still be able to keep your clients happy, like what's the secret behind that? Because obviously you guys are mobile right now. That's so awesome,
Yeah. I mean, this is technology. You can't beat it. And I think since COVID hit, so many more people are comfortable with Zoom, where before COVID, I was printing off purchase agreements and going to meet my clients and doing things line by line. And now it's like, oh, you want to write an offer? I'll send you a link in an hour, and people don't bat an eye. They know exactly how to do it. And I think it's been really great for our industry and the environment, that people are they're really great with technology. And it's like our clients have their kids running around in the backyard or in the background, and we're going through documents that need to be gone through, and you could just be so much more flexible. Zoom's been huge for being able to be mobile and flexible with us. And they say if you want more business, go out of town.
Yeah, take a vacation. But I think a lot of that too is the type of clients that we get. I wouldn't take any of the credit away from them. They're very understanding of our situation as well, and know that we're fluid and we move through things like everybody else does, and things come up. And for instance, if we take a call while we're out of town, it's like, hey, look, they called us because they probably got a great referral from us. Well, I hope it's great. Or maybe it was a good one. And we just talk to them on the phone and tell them our current situation. We're absolutely honest with them. And there's again, we're not pushing anything. It's just to say, hey, look, this is what it is. And you make your decisions as the potential client on whether or not you can wait for us, or if we can just have that meeting and talk to you face to face or Zoom call, or however you want to do it. Maybe when we get home, maybe while we're out of town like this.
I will say too, we're never out of town for more than 3 days.
Okay.
We're usually up at the North Shore on Superior. We're a 2-hour drive. If we gotta be somewhere, we'll be there. Right now we're a 10-hour drive. If we got a listing call and they were like, we want to be on the market next week, I promise you, Josh would take this rental car, he'd drive back to Minnesota, and I'd fly back with the kids. We will be there for our clients because this is what we do. So
the passion is just, I love it. I absolutely love it. And the cool thing is I see that, questions are starting to come in now. I see Kim, she had a question for you guys. In negotiations or presenting to a potential client, does one of you take the lead in the conversation, or do you guys tag team? That's a great question, Kim.
For sure. So what Josh and I have learned over the years is that if we say oh, we'll both work with this client, it gets really messy. And we start fighting a little bit because I'm like, wait, did you send them this email? Did you say this to them? Did you say that to them? Did we go over this? And it's kind of a mess. So we've learned that what works best for us is one of us takes point. So if it comes from my sphere or my social circle, I'll take point. And, sometimes it's hey, Josh is going to meet you there for the inspection. He's awesome. I'll go over everything with him. Like we'll tag team a little bit and have those deep conversations about like, okay, what did I miss? What do I need to be informed in?
Yeah.
But in most cases, it's like he's got a client, I got a client, and they know that there's a backup there if they need it, that
Yeah.
there's two of us, but we try and stay in our lanes with our clients so that they get good communication, one person. It also, I think, drives the agent on the other side nuts. If they're getting calls from both of us and they don't know who to talk to, and they're
Yeah.
like, but I told Josh this, and I'm like, oh shoot, he didn't tell me that. So
Well, and so to kind of piggyback off of that though, so like we'll be included on the email together, but
Yeah.
I never respond to those emails if honest taking point, right? So I think that's a huge part in it too. And you know, we work well that way. It's just if it comes from honest sphere, for example, or if it comes from my sphere, if I know the person, I'm probably going to take point on that, right? Another great thing to answer Kim's question would be that, you know, maybe Anna forgot something while she's doing the inspection and didn't think of something. I'm there as like an added bonus in the background, not in the client's face, but to say, hey, did you think about this? And she does the same for me. And it's like, it's really great having that extra brain.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
Behind the scenes, we get to work together a lot
Yeah.
too.
It's like
So
having an alley-oop, you just, and then the slam dunk, yeah.
Yep.
So I'm about to ask the big question here, right? How you guys are handling the big one, right?
the big
NAR.
what?
and they are.
NAR.
Oh, sure.
I think
So, yeah,
I think having my dad in real estate has helped me to the point of like understanding like, real estate's always changing. And if you're not ready to move with it, then you're not doing real estate, right? So it's really business as usual for us. I mean, yeah, it changes how we talk about commissions versus concessions, but we've already and I know California does it differently, but in Minnesota, we already had clear cooperation, and I think everywhere, from what I understand, had clear cooperation, but we've already had buyer contracts, right? So it really changes our verbiage in those couple of lines of like 122 or 124, where we need to make sure that it, you know, the seller understands we're
Mhm.
asking for a concession, right?
Yeah.
If that's what we're doing.
Yeah, Minnesota was pretty highly regulated to begin with.
Yeah.
So like if you would look at our listing agreements, it's already like it's a blank line of like, what do you want to give a buyer's agent? And it's always been like, well, it can be 0, but you
Yeah.
might not sell your house. So again, it's just
Yeah.
for us in Minnesota, it changes the conversation. But like Josh said, it's like we just gotta be flexible. We gotta roll with it. We gotta know that like it's all gonna be fine. In a year, we're gonna be like, wasn't this how we always did it? So, well, at least you hope.
yeah, we're all hoping for the same thing out here. I mean, and your clients seem to be okay with that, right? They're pretty cool with the adjustments of the whole settlement,
Yeah.
because I'm sure they're asking you questions about that as well, you know. So how are you guys
Lots of
tackling?
Yeah.
Lots
Yeah.
of questions.
We tell them too, it's like, well, just remember how you got the house that you're currently in, you know, like the buyer funded that entire deal.
Mhm.
So, you know, it's just trying to, you come from a place of gratitude, really.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Well, with that being said, I want to say, I mean, you know, as a baker, right? I love your slogan. So why don't you tell everyone what that is and how you came up with it?
Oh, so it's, I think someone had mentioned, I think it was a coach that we had early on with Keller
Yeah.
Williams, Karen Collins, fantastic woman, great. And we were just kind of spitballing ideas, and she's, you know, she mentioned something about a shtick, and I was like, I guess I never really thought about a slogan. And when it comes to marketing, I like when my college courses, I loved coming up with cheesy stuff. That's me all day. Like it's just who I am, right? And I don't know, like I was like, home is sweeter with a baker. Could that work? And I asked my father, I was like, hey, what do you think about this? And he goes, no, don't do it. That sounds way too cheesy. You don't want cheesy. And I was like, okay, well, I think I'm gonna roll with it. You know, and I swear every phone call I get that either goes to my voicemail, or I have a little brother who I got into the business in Utah. You know, everybody will be like, I love your slogan, by the way. I got on a call once, and it had picked up, and somebody thought they had gone to voicemail, and she's like, you got to hear this. This guy's home is sweeter with a baker. And she was
That's true.
yeah, thought it was awesome. And just so, you know, so many avenues. It's almost like it's not annoying, right? So like I think people kind
It's
of resonate
memorable,
with it.
you know, it's
Right.
memorable.
Right.
And
And
we
Yeah.
lean into, you know, like
we'll tell you
we'll
our
door
secret
knock our
recipe.
we'll door knock our neighborhood, you know, and hand out pies and stuff,
Oh
or
yeah.
you know,
Very fitting. Yep.
some people
That's
feel
cool. That's really cool. So,
I mean,
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you haven't created a slogan and you feel it might be too cheesy, just run with it. Because it's like they're
run
saying, I
with
mean,
it.
people like this, they're attracted to that, you know? Because
right.
I think what it does is it shows the human aspect of this. Because it's like, well, they can be cheesy, and I know because not a lot of people want to admit, like, I'm cheesy. Like, and I can probably say I'm the cheesiest guy in the office, right? And if Benny is on this call or can hear this call or sees this call later, he'll know I'm the cheesiest guy in the office that he's hired. So when it comes down to cheesiness, like I love it when I see someone else doing cheese, I'm like, oh my god, I can relate. Like, okay, they're human too.
Sure.
They're not gonna like judge me on me being weird or whatever. And it's just
Yeah.
I,
Yeah. I
yeah.
think too, it's like we've decided to do it tastefully. You
yeah.
know, like our logo is pretty crisp, it's pretty modern. There's no like mixing bowls or chef hats or anything on it like that. It's
As
just
much
like
as I
it is
want
what
to.
it is. And that's where I've limited Josh to it. I'm like, nope, nope.
Yeah, you wanted to go above and beyond on that, didn't you?
Yes. You know it. Like I'm all like, what's the secret ingredient? What's our recipe? Like I'm always trying to figure out what's next, you know?
That's
So
awesome. I mean, yeah, guys, if you have a cool name, run with it. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
you know, so let me ask you this, you know, last question here for me. And what is your least, we're going to start with this one. What's your least favorite thing about the business? And then what is your absolute most favorite about real estate and doing what you do?
That question gets pretty deep for me
Okay.
because I think my whole life I've always kind of struggled with like, oh, I want people to like me and I care if like they, you know, what they think. And so a hard part about real estate for me is that like, oh my gosh, if I'm in real estate and our business is based on if people like me, like I get nervous. I get nervous. I'm like, oh, I just want everyone to like us and so that's hard for me, you know, especially I think I overthink things a lot because our business is so people based
I love
that
that.
I
that it's
No,
hard for me to step away and be like,
I can relate.
Anna, you know you're a good person. You no matter what people think, but
I
I do.
Affirmations.
I think my least favorite thing is not to say that I'm not empathetic, but it might be the hardest thing, or you know, maybe it kind of the hardest thing and the least favorite thing are kind of the same thing for me. It's somebody who's lived in their home for decades is trying to downsize, and now I've got to put myself in their shoes and try to understand what that's like, creating all of those memories, having kids and grandchildren come through that home, or you know, whoever it is. Again, just trying to understand what they're going through and how that must feel, especially if they're, you know, selling or going to a new community to create all these new memories. um I think that's the hardest thing for me. But the beauty of it is, again, our niche is elder services, the stories, the veterans. I'm a veteran, and hearing
Yeah.
the stories, you sit down sometimes for 2-3 hours.
Yeah, if we go on a listing appointment, I'm like, we need a nanny for at least 3 hours.
Yeah, and just hearing these incredible stories just across
Yeah.
the board. It doesn't always have to be a veteran story. It's just who they are. You know, like
Yeah.
that's the coolest thing I think is just, you know, that relationship building, and then seeing them just having some what appears to be like semblance of peace while they're moving, and knowing that we took it we took it a step further, you know, and built that relationship, and kind of calmed any anxieties or rough waters, if you will, and just seeing them happy with the choices that they've made.
And
So
that's the best part.
yeah,
That's the best
absolutely.
part. Like happy clients, that's the best part. So
Just showing them something that, you know, like I mean, I could say, you know, when like the thing that got me the most to really know that real estate was the thing is when you're finding like a buyer that didn't know that they could get qualified and they're crying because they got their first home, and it's just like
Yeah.
that's priceless, you know. It's moments like that, you know. I
Yeah,
it
mean,
is.
it's so cool. Just to piggyback off that, because we're
yeah.
bakers, home is sweeter with a baker. I have a baker who she makes cookies and designs the house that they bought, and we hand those to them at closing. And yeah,
Oh, so cool.
someone got really emotional over it, her first time home buyer, and it's an incredible feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's like, I don't want to eat this cookie.
Like, no, you got to.
Yeah, it's still food.
Right.
That's really cool. So, and I love that you guys do that for the closing gift. That is amazing. So, I know you guys are out on the road. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but what is a great place, to have the people reach out to you? And we're gonna put this on YouTube. So, for some of the people who haven't been, didn't have the time to jump on, what's a good place to reach you guys and network? If any, because what's funny, I was on Command and I was looking at referral patterns, right? And believe it or not, like in Orange County and LA, Minnesota tends to be one of the ones that people are leaving California to go to. So where can you where can we find you
Yeah.
guys? How can we reach you?
Minnesota is underrated. It's a hidden gem. It's great.
It
It's
is.
super
I've been. It's awesome.
into Minnesota. Instagram, home is sweeter with a baker,
Yep.
bakerrealtmn.com. I'm on a P Baker.
Yeah. Yeah.
612-222-7992.
We should have let our 7-year-old say that. He loves it. But yeah, text message, email, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. I don't use my Twitter as much, so I should take that back. But Snapchat, we're all over socials. We primarily more focus on Facebook and Instagram though. But yeah, reach out.
Awesome.
Just a
Well,
text.
we'll make sure to follow them, you guys. If you have any referrals or anyone in Minnesota that's looking to buy, sell, rent, invest,
Thank
home is
Thank
sweeter with the Bakers.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys so much for having us on. We really appreciate the
Anna,
opportunity.
Joshua, you guys are amazing. Thank you for doing this, especially last minute. I'm so sorry. I know you guys are traveling, but thank you so much for
Oh,
the
it was
time.
our pleasure.
And this was a lot of fun. I mean, just the chemistry between you guys are just phenomenal. I mean, it's a lot of fun just watching you guys. So yeah, hey, if I'd have some Minnesota, hey, I'm going with the Bakers, baby.
Hey, I know where I'm going for SoCal now. Come on.
There we go. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so very, very much. Once we're done, we're gonna put this on YouTube and we'll go ahead and send you the link, and then you can blast it out to your people if you like as well. And
Awesome. That'd be great.
yeah,
Thank you.
we got to have you guys back on at some point. So thank you so
Love
much.
it. All right. Yeah.
Awesome.
You guys have a great weekend. Thank you to everybody who was on.
Yeah, you too. All right, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.